Okay, Premium Bible fans, here it is, the 4-week update on the brand new Quentel and Thinline by Schuyler. This is the New American Standard version. It's the only version it comes in right now. I've had it since it came out. I did an unboxing video. I did a video a week later to talk about my thoughts about it. And now it's been 4 weeks of using this Bible, and I want to share with you my impressions, what I really like about it, and some of the limitations you should be aware of as you start to think about this Bible for yourself. Stay tuned. It's Max, and welcome back for another update on the Schuyler Thinline. As you recall, I did a couple videos previously on this Bible, and some folks had mentioned that it's very helpful to have this sort of progressive review of the Bible. And so my plan is to do another review now, obviously 4 weeks in, and then maybe periodically over time after that I'll provide some more reviews. Probably not as frequent, obviously, but if something comes up, or if I have significant wear, or maybe there's a problem, then I'll post another review as we go. So stay tuned, subscribe if you want to continue to get those updates, and those will be coming along. One thing I do want to also note is that the video quality and the audio quality, you may notice, is a little bit better than some of my prior videos. And prior videos, I just use an iPad, stock camera, stock obviously audio. And I spent about $40 on Amazon to kind of up the game a little bit, and I'm actually filming on an iPhone right now, an iPhone 8, with some very inexpensive equipment that really has, I think, improved the video quality quite a bit. So I hope that is a help to you to kind of hear a little better and be able to see a little better. And I'm trying to get a little bit better with the videos here. I'm really enjoying this aspect of it. I'm kind of a guy who's into tech, and I've really enjoyed kind of learning about these things and getting a little bit of equipment. If you're interested in what I did or the equipment I've used, if you're trying to do the same thing, just leave a comment and I'll be happy to share what I purchased if anybody's interested. Also, I'm really having a lot of, as I mentioned, I'm having a lot of fun doing these videos, and I'd like to continue to put some out there. Maybe not all Bible reviews. I'll certainly do some more reviews of Bibles that I have, if that's of interest. But I also want to do some messages around just general Christian topics, maybe some scripture messages that I'm practicing for some different preaching that I'm doing, and also really just to put some things out there that may help folks who maybe know Jesus or maybe those who don't. So if you're interested in walking through that journey with me and kind of my learning how to do that, my learning, my growth, I'd love the feedback. I'd love you to walk that journey with me. So if you do, again, click to subscribe so you can see as those things come out. I work a full-time job, so this is not something I'll be able to do, one every day, but I think periodically I'd like to push out a few videos just to start to get some practice with that, and hopefully to put stuff out there really that has an impact with other people. Okay, so I wanted to cover off on just a couple items today, really just the overall size of the Bible. I want to talk a little bit about the leather, and I want to talk about the paper and the font layout, font size, and really just the coloration used there. So again, not an entire encompassing overall review of the Bible, but just the things that I feel are really important to talk about. I noticed there's more and more reviews out there, so I really just kind of want to focus in on what I think is most important in my experience. Okay, number one, size of the Bible. Again, I mentioned on previous reviews, this was a little bit bigger than I was expecting. Obviously, I had the dimensions when I ordered it, but it's a little bit taller and a little bit wider and really even a little bit thicker than I was actually anticipating. Although I have to say that's okay. I've lived with it, and I kind of initially when I first got it, I said, yeah, not a big deal. And then as I had it for a week or two, I was like, maybe it's a little bit too big. Maybe I want a little bit on the larger size here. And to be honest with you, if I could pick the perfect size for a Bible, I would go a little bit thinner. I'd go maybe an inch off the top and an inch off the width. To me, that's a pretty good size, a really sweet spot of the size of a Bible. But, you have to be open to what's out there. I'm not going to have a custom-made Bible for myself, so this is pretty close. And I'd have to say that, in carrying this around, carrying this to church, using this, the size really isn't too bad. Now, I do have bigger hands. I'm a bigger guy. So, if that's not the case for you, you may think differently. So just be aware of that. Some folks had asked about holding it while preaching. Yeah, and it really does lend itself well to that. Again, I mentioned, and my hand's kind of doing it right now in a prior video, that it does slip a little bit on the leather, but by and large, The size of the Bible is really, really nice for viewing at a distance, for reading for extended periods of time, so reading when it's a little bit darker in the room when you have less light. So I'm very happy with the size. Now I'm coming from an extreme, right? So I'm coming from the Pitt Minion, which is obviously very, very small font, probably the smallest out there, and to now a much larger print Bible. Now I wouldn't say this is large print. It's just maybe a little bit more normal, but to me it feels larger. And but I'm really enjoying it. I think it's very helpful. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the leather on this Bible. This is something that folks who've done other reviews have really commented on as something really spectacular and something really phenomenal. I would completely agree. It's really hard to even do it justice here on the camera, although you can kind of see it as I bend it against the light here. This leather really is spectacular. This leather really is something special. The construction of this Bible is phenomenal. It's really, really sturdy, but by far the leather is where this Bible stands out. It is just so soft and supple and smooth. It's just a joy to hold. It's a joy to read. It's a joy to kind of carry around with you. And even comparing it to another premium Bible that I have, the Cambridge Pitt Minion. This is obviously in goatskin as well, just brown. This doesn't hold a candle to the Schuyler. It really is kind of like night and day, and this is obviously premium goatskin on this Bible as well. So I realize it's a different binding. It's not quite as flexible, but this Schuyler is really spectacular. Best way I would describe it is if you've ever sat on like a phenomenal leather couch or sofa or high-end car which has really nice leather. That's what this feels like, but I gotta tell you, I'm really not sure I can ever remember seeing leather this kind of soft and smooth on a couch or a chair. It'd be nice if they would make one like that, but I'm sure it would cost a fortune. But anyway, this leather really is spectacular. It's also very flexible. You can see it rolls nicely. It's still a bit stiff, as you can see, because it's new, but I've already noticed in a month that this is already starting to get a little bit softer and a little bit smoother. When you hold it kind of like this, you can see that it bends smoothly, obviously, with the paper. So really, one thing that really sets this Bible apart, again, not a complete reason to buy a Bible just because of the leather, but when you're carrying it, you're handling it, it really is a joy. And I can't think of a Bible that I've held that has been better quality than this. I wanted to quickly talk about font size, and you can see here the camera a little bit closer to the paper. Font size is very readable, even at a distance here of about 12 inches, and I'm not sure with the lens how that compares, but sitting a good 2 feet away, 3 feet away from this Bible, you can still read it, which I think is really nice. In addition, the font's just very easy on the eyes, and I like some of the little nuances here, like kind of the crimson red chapter numbers, and how the notes the references are a little bit separated with different red lettering. And they're also not in the center column, which I personally like. I think it is a little bit cleaner and easier to read, although I've got plenty of center column references and they don't really tend to bother me. I just like the way this looks a little bit better. Comparing it to the Pitt Minion, obviously, you can see that the paper is a little bit different in terms of coloration. I'd say both of these papers are very high quality paper. You can feel it when you touch the paper, when you turn it. Definitely very, very high quality, but obviously different in terms of coloring. Now, I mentioned before in one of the previous videos that there is quite a bit of ghosting, I feel like, in the Thinline Quentel, and you can kind of see that if I bring it up close. Yeah, you can see right there that there is certainly some ghosting, and I talked about one trick that would help to alleviate that, which is just to really pick the page up and sort of drop it down. What this does is sort of separates it from the previous page and then reduces the ghosting, as you can see. I think a lot of this is because it's a new Bible. My Pitt Minion, I can't really remember exactly if it was like that when I first got it. It no longer is now. You see the pages flip very easily. They're a little bit harder to do that with on the Schuyler. Again, I think that's because it's just new. I do think, though, that the ghosting is a lot less on the Pitt Minion. If you look at this, you can see it a little bit. But it's pretty good. And I really was, one of the things that really amazed me about this Bible, this Pitt Minion, is the lack of ghosting. I will say, though, that I've bought a different version of this Bible. I think I tried to buy the NASB or the ESV, and it was completely different. The print was different. The ghosting was different. it was like a different Bible, and all it was a different version. So they must have different variations of printing, ink quality maybe, or color of ink. But this particular NIV really, I think, excels. So I wouldn't say that Schuyler is bad by any means. I think it's probably normal, or it's probably average in terms of ghosting. But the Pitt Minion and NIV really excels. Is probably maybe why my bias is there. I think also the color of paper, as you can see, is a little bit darker on the Pitt Minion, a little bit lighter on the Schuyler. So that probably aids in that, or makes it probably a little bit more noticeable on the Schuyler. And I think also the print seems to maybe be a little bit, I don't know if it's a little bit darker, maybe it's just a smaller font size, but that maybe reduces it a little bit as well on the Pitt Minion. So again, this is a trade-off. You're getting a thin-line Bible with a good size font. You're going to have to make trade-offs here and there. And this is definitely the trade-off in this Bible, the little bit of ghosting. If that bothers you, then get the full-size Quentel or look at a different Bible. My understanding, the full-size Quentel, you won't have that problem because it's very thick paper. However, you're going to have a Bible that's twice as thick, and you need to think about that. So that's just my concern. That's really my biggest concern, but I'll tell you, it doesn't seem to bother me anymore. It's probably a little bit more noticeable to me because I was coming from a Bible that really excelled at this, like the Pitt Minion did. So that's probably why I bring it up so much and I talk about it. But really, to me, that's the one major trade-off that you're going to have to think about with this Bible. If that's a deal breaker for you, then you got to think about that. Last thing I want to show before we end the video is some folks had asked about underlining, and I finally brought myself to do it. I was kind of really hesitating, and actually even after I underlined this, I sort of second-guessed myself. I am planning on using this Bible and really, I'm not going to keep it as a showpiece or as a collection item. So I'm going to have to get over that eventually, and I did actually write on it just to show you folks. I underlined a couple scriptures here that I was reading the other day and really wanted to make sure I remembered. So in terms of writing on the paper, it's pretty straightforward, wasn't too bad. And in terms of bleed through, you can see it a little bit. Yeah, you can see it. And I wrote with a pretty light, pen stroke there, but you can see it. Not terrible. And the fact that it's line matched really helps to make it underneath the lines that you're reading, not right through them, so it's less distracting. But again, this is the thin paper, so this is something you have to keep in mind. Underlining will tend to show through on the other side. Again, I think it's something I can live with. It's not a deal breaker for me, but just something for you to be aware of. Okay, so that's it. Those are my impressions of the New American Standard Bible by Schuyler, the Quentel Thinline. You can't go wrong with this Bible. If this is the size of the Bible you're looking for, if this is a translation of Bible you're looking for, this really is a spectacular Bible. It's worth all of the $200 it costs. And I know that's a hefty price tag, but this really is something special. Again, the only thing to think about is the thinness of the paper. That's a trade-off. If that's going to really bother you, I would suggest you get the full-size Quentel, or maybe look for another Bible that does maybe a little bit different on the paper. I will caution you though, pretty much any thin Bible, I've seen ghosting. And even on the Pitt Minion, different translations of Pitt Minion, I see different amount of ghosting. So if the ghosting is something that gets you, you're going to want to go with a full-size Bible to eliminate that on thicker paper. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for the comments and the feedback. Be sure to subscribe if you want to continue to get updates on this Bible and how it wears, other Bibles, and also, as mentioned, some of those messages I'm thinking about developing and creating. I would love your feedback. I'd love the comments, and hopefully they're helpful and you can share them with others and use them to spread the word of God, which is really why we're all here. Have a great one.